found a baby cardinal on the ground today, or maybe you will tomorrow, hopping in the grass, feathers still short, no parent in sight. Most people who find a bird like this pick it up immediately, out of pure instinct. Nobody ever told them that the bird they just rescued was never actually in danger. Subscribe to Bird Sense right now. This is exactly the kind of thing we uncover every week, and what that bird on the ground actually needed from you, which was almost certainly nothing. That is what changes everything. To understand what he is actually doing, you have to understand the difference between two birds. People mistake for each other. A nestling is featherless, eyes still closed, unable to hop or grip. A bird that genuinely needs help if found outside the nest. A fledgling is different. He has feathers. His toes grip your finger or a twig without slipping. He hops and flutters with real purpose, even though his tail is still a stub, and his flight is nowhere close to reliable. If the bird you found looks feathered and alert, capable of hopping away from you, you're almost certainly looking at a fledgling. And a fledgling on the ground is not a bird in crisis. He is doing exactly what he is supposed to be doing at this exact stage of his life. Here is where it gets strange. Cardinal fledglings leave the nest before they can fly, not by accident, by design. For several days, sometimes closer to a week, they hop, flutter, and scramble through low branches and open ground while their flight feathers finish developing. And during that entire stretch, the parents keep feeding them, keep tracking them, keep working just as hard as they did when the chicks were still in the nest. The ground is not a failure state for a fledgling. It is a scheduled stop on the way to flight. And the bird hopping through your grass right now is running exactly on time, doing precisely what every cardinal before him has done at this same stage, in this same clumsy, vulnerable, entirely normal week, which means the parent you don't see standing right next to that bird is not evidence of abandonment. It is evidence of a very deliberate kind of distance. Adult cardinals with a fledgling on the ground do not hover directly over their chick, because doing so would draw exactly the kind of predator attention that could get the fledgling killed. Instead, the parents watch from a nearby branch, sometimes 30 or 40 feet away, checking in, delivering food, calling to guide the fledgling toward better cover, present, but deliberately not close. From where you're standing, that distance looks like absence. From the parent's perspective, it is the single behavior most likely to keep that chick alive through the most dangerous week of its life, and it is happening whether you can see it or not. Most people across the country, in backyards and parks and sidewalks from Ohio to Oregon, encounter this exact scene every summer and read it the same way. A helpless baby, alone, in trouble, and there's a myth sitting underneath. That reaction that makes it even more likely you'll intervene. The idea that if you touch a baby bird, the parents will smell your scent on it and abandon it forever. That is simply not true. Cardinals don't identify their own chicks by scent in the first place. They rely on sight, sound, and location, not smell. So there's no scent-based mechanism for a parent to reject a chick a human has touched. But the myth's inaccuracy doesn't change the right answer here. The problem was never your scent. The problem is that removing a functioning fledgling from the process his parents are actively running usually does far more harm than any imagined scent ever could, no matter how well-meaning the person doing the removing happens to be. But researchers found something they did not expect when they looked at how often people actually intervene in situations exactly like this one. Estimates suggest that a striking share of the baby birds people bring home as rescues were healthy fledglings that never needed help in the first place, taken from parents who were nearby, watching and fully capable of continuing to raise them without any human involvement at all. Every one of those interventions, however well-intentioned, removed a bird from the only caregivers equipped to teach it everything it still needed to learn: how to forage, how to recognize danger, how to fly with any real skill instead of just flutter and hope. A well-meaning human, no matter how careful or how devoted, cannot replace that education, and most hand-raised fledglings face far worse odds than the ones simply left alone to finish the process their parents already had running, long before you ever notice the bird on your lawn, which means the correct action, in the overwhelming majority of cases, is close to no action at all. If the fledgling is somewhere genuinely dangerous, the middle of a driveway, exposed on a sidewalk, with heavy foot traffic, the accepted guidance is to move it a short distance to nearby cover, a shrub or low branch just off to the side, close enough that the parents can still find it. If a cat or dog has access to the yard, bring the pet inside until the fledgling has moved on, which usually takes no more than a few days. Beyond that, the best thing you can do is almost nothing. Watch from a distance, confirm a parent is returning to feed the chick, and let the process that has worked for this species for millions of years keep working without your help. Here is where it gets even stranger, or at least where the story gets slightly more complicated. If the bird you find is not feathered, bare skin, or only a thin trace of down, eyes still closed, unable to grip anything, that is a nestling, not a fledgling, and a nestling genuinely does need intervention. The correct move there is to look for the nest nearby, and if you can find it, place the bird back inside as gently and quickly as possible. The scent myth doesn't apply here either. The parents will still accept the chick back if the nest can't be found or the bird is visibly injured. That's the moment to stop trying to solve it yourself and contact a licensed wildlife rehabilitator instead, rather than attempting to raise the bird on your own. Which means the next time you see a young cardinal hopping through your grass, tail short, wings not quite ready, take one extra second before you reach for it. Look at the feathers. Look at whether it can grip and hop with real coordination. In almost every case, what looks like an emergency is actually a bird right on schedule, being watched from a branch you probably haven't noticed yet by parents who have been managing exactly this moment for millions of years without ever needing your help to get it right. The instinct to rescue comes from a good place. Nobody wants to walk past a creature that looks like it's suffering, but the most protective thing you can do, in the overwhelming majority of these encounters, is the thing that feels the least like protecting anything at all. Step back, keep pets inside for a few days, and let a process older than your entire neighborhood finish exactly the way it's supposed to, a few feet from where you almost picked it up. If the fledgling happens to be somewhere genuinely dangerous, the middle of a driveway, exposed on a busy sidewalk, the accepted guidance is to move it a short distance to nearby cover, close enough that the parents can still find it, not to take it inside. And if you ever do come across a bird that's clearly a nestling, bare-skinned, or barely downy, unable to hop at all, that's the one case where finding the nest and gently placing it back inside is the right call, with the scent myth firmly out of the equation either way.